So today we will find out, and we will experience actually even more what design thinking is, and when and how it can be used. We will try to provide you with some information on that, but mainly with the tools that you will, I hope, be able to use in your daily life, because this is the process that can be used in a very different and various situations in life. I hope you will find it very helpful. Just quickly about the agenda. We are slightly behind the schedule, but not that much, so we will make up for it. So first of all, we will have a short presentation on the method, on where it comes from and how it is kind of structured. So we will talk about that. And then we will have a coffee break, which will probably be 10 minutes shorter if I don't make up during my presentation. And then we will form the teams and divide ourselves into 4 groups, because this is how we will work today, in 4 groups. Each group have a different, like similar but task, but with a different profile of end user, and then you will be taken in a journey through 5 phases of the design thinking process. 5 phases. We are modeling this process on Stanford at IDEO, the Stanford School of Design Thinking. So we will start with the empathy. Then we will go to the second phase, which is called definition of a problem, then ideation, prototyping, and then we will sum up and choose the project that you like the most. There are some inspirational items we have on that table you will use for the prototyping phase, and in between we will have 2 breaks and a lunch break, so you should be fine. Okay. And what is very important today? It is a teamwork and a creative process. So in English it is easy. We speak to each other by name. We'll try to keep the time and try to be focused. And this is why I would like to ask you to mute your phones and not to use your laptops today. You will not need them. You will just need your hands and your heads. We will work in teams. So what is important is to really respect the perspective of our colleagues or in the team, or colleagues from other teams. So we don't have to agree, but we listen with respect and we respect each other's perspective. I'm in the charge of the process, so I will tell you when we are moving to the next phase. I will tell you, you have 5 minutes for that task, and then you will tell me, oh, it's not enough time. Please trust me and trust in the process. It will work, I promise. And if you don't feel comfortable with some exercises, you of course don't have to do it. Just feel safe here, and this is important. Is that okay with you? Is there anything you would like to add to the contract for today? Okay. So today I will try to give you an interview of design thinking and of the method, and I will try to explain why it is so widely used in business and in life. The word innovation is one of the words that have been used in a various contexts, I think very widely now, and it's sometimes difficult to even define what is it. What is innovation for you? What is innovation? For anybody? Like,
new product, new process, new service.
Okay.
You materialize an idea.
You materialize an idea, exactly. It's new product. It is materialized, which is very important, I think. Yes?
Invention times commercialization.
Yep. I think there is one thing that makes innovation actually really an innovation: when it is implemented. Because if new product stays at the level of an idea, of a level of a concept, it is not really innovation. Innovation is something that we actually develop and we make work and we introduce. So this is innovation. And keeping it simple, design thinking as a kind of philosophy, a kind of approach and set of tools that help to solve a problem, that help to solve a need of your client, that help to solve a problem of the team, that help to design new product, new service, new process, new marketing idea. This is what this is. And of course, there are a lot of processes that you can use in order to develop a new product or new service or to innovate. What is different with design thinking is one particular feature. In design thinking, we focus on our end user. So we always think of who will be the addressee, who will be the client, who will be the end user of the thing, of the process, of the service, of the product that we are going to create. And this is something that changes the perspective a lot. This is why it is called human-centered design. Yeah. So deep understanding of users' needs, this is what is in the center of design thinking, and this is also why the process is structured the way we always have a kind of persona, kind of profile of our client that is in the center of the team, and the profiles of your clients are actually in the files and in the boxes you have on your table. So we are trying to look at the problem and at the need of the person through the lenses, through the eyes of our client, not through our own needs, not through the knowledge we have, not through even the experience we have, because the need is not ours. The need is our client. And the very, 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 I think, neat and simple definition was given by Tim Brown, one of the founder of Stanford School of Design Thinking and the chair of IDEO, the company, design company that actually developed design thinking, is that the design thinking is a human-centered approach to innovation. So always look at the problem from the perspective of your client. Mm-hmm. And this is how it actually started. So what you see here, anybody? What is it? It's the first mouse of Apple that actually has been developed with IDEO. So basically, the whole concept is based on the Herbert Simons, who was awarded actually a Nobel Prize, and in his principle of science in '69, and then developed by University of Stanford. They have been cooperating with a design company, and the design company simply noticed that when big companies designing, technology devices or equipment or machines, or they used to come to the design company just in the very end phase, saying, okay, we have designed this really good navigation device, and now you need just to put it in a nice form. And it turned out that usually the designers, who were only supposed to kind of make a packaging, had a lot of ideas on how it should look like, what is actually the ergonomy, what would be most suitable for the person. So that was the beginning of thinking, okay, how we can involve designers in an earlier process so that we don't have to wait through whole of the development process and then spend money on it and spend time on it, develop something that actually, when it comes to the final process, it turns out that it is not really working, or that it is not really functioning, or it is not very convenient for the users. So they started to do it, and then they decided to involve the designers in actually the very first stage of the process. And this is how actually this device actually was founded. So the challenge was to find a cheap, reliable, and kind of intuitive navigation device that could be used by an individual who happens to have a personal computer, because that was the time when they started to grow. The previous device was actually very large, not very ergonomic, and also very hard and expensive to make. So what they have done, they have run the whole process with the designers, and they came up with the solution that actually the system is used up to now of this device, and it is something we are all familiar. It's the most intuitive thing we can use. So that is how basically it all started. And then, of course, it was not only Apple that started to use design thinking. There were and are many companies that use it, many non-governmental organizations, many governments when it comes to strategy. So lots of companies are using this approach. Okay, and what you see here, okay, there's one thing I wanted to say. Okay, so if I was going to summarize just the principle of design thinking, that would be users' needs. So they put a person who would use the mice, the navigation device, because it was not called that at that time. They put that in the center. They have structured the process, which you will see and you have seen on the next slide. They have worked in iterations, so they have repeated the process a few times so that they were able to adjust and improve and test and try whether it works or not. And they had a multidisciplinary team. So that was something that was very important. And how it went. So basically, when you start the process, you start with empathy. And empathy in the normal life is something that is associated with compassion, with sympathy. And here it is not, and actually it is not. So empathy is the way to kind of put someone else's shoes, or look at the world through someone else's glasses, is to kind of think, forget about yourself and try to think of what other person or a group or would think, feel, need. This is what the empathy is about. And when we are in the design thinking process, this is I would say, the most important part. And the process you see, it consists of 5 stages, but it does not mean that the stages needs to be linear. You should start with empathy, but you should use empathy throughout the whole process. You can reverse. You should be going back and forth within the processes, but empathy is something you really need to have always in your head and in your mind. Okay, so empathy is about getting to know your end user. It's about understanding his lifestyle or her lifestyle, the needs, the family situation, work situation, whatever is important, and not only from the perspective of your challenge, but actually it's important to actually really understand the person, the way he functions, the way he is in the relation with the other, his problems, and the way they spend their time. So this is what the empathy is about. We don't judge. We don't, we just take it. We just try to understand. Then we come to the second phase, which is called definition of the needs. And here it's an analytical phase where you actually draw conclusions from the empathy phase. So you actually try to think, okay, so what is the real need of the client? What is the problem here? Do we understand it? And the phase ends up with the formulation of the challenge, and we think and we formulate it in a special way, which I will present to you slightly later. But this is where we don't think about solutions. there is this tendency we have, there is this kind of a way we do things, that when we have a problem, we try to jump in and find a way to solve it. This is not the way we do it in design thinking. Here we define the problem, not the solutions. The solutions are in the third phase, which is called the ideation, and this is the phase working in groups, preferably multidisciplinary groups, so that we have different people, we have different approaches, different age, different background, different values, and we try to generate as many ideas as we can. No ideas are bad on the beginning. We should just try to be creative, like a child. We should think from different perspectives, how Donald Trump would do that, how a vegetarian would do it, how a child would do it, how a person who doesn't live in our city would do it. So this is the way of looking at the need we have defined in the definition phase and generate ideas. Then we go to a very interesting phase, which is called prototyping. And in the prototyping phase, you have your idea, because first you generated a lot, and then you have selected with your team the one you are going to develop further, and you try to visualize your idea. You try to make it the way, simply, without really putting much attention to, to what it looks like. You try to visualize that so that you could quickly test it in the fifth phase. There is a phone, and it is mine. I'm very sorry. So you prototype in order to visualize your idea, and the prototypes can be very different. You can pretend you are making a phone call and you are presenting your idea to your friend. You can do an MVP, depending on, of course, of the challenge. The idea is that it needs to contain and it needs to present and needs to show the main features of your idea, because in the fifth phase, in the testing phase, you will be presenting it to your end users or to other groups of people, and you will be getting feedback. And you will be listening to the feedback, and you will be thinking what could be corrected, what should be amended, what works, what doesn't work. You are getting the feedback. You don't fight for your prototype. You don't defend it. It's not the case. Your case is just to listen, and the group will comment on it. And then you, again, go back to your process. You think, you do it again. So iterations are extremely important. And as you can see, you can always sort of go back to the previous groups, and you should do it. It's important to sometimes to take a step back, and especially when you hear that something could be done differently. Is that clear for you? It is as simple like I said before, a very simple and structured process which goes into iterations, requires focuses on users' needs, and requires multidisciplinary teams. Okay. Do you think that empathy is important in business? Yep. Why?
For me, it's the basic to approach a person.
Mm-hmm. The basic to approach the person. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep.
For a very practical reason, because the client is the one facing, so you have to understand in order to make him buy what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It pays off, actually. It turns out that it pays off, and it is not only the way to make things nicer. It's not make things, I don't know, more working. It proves to be much more efficient in terms of business cases that are running. So you'll see a gentleman on the photo, and he's wearing a kind of suit that helps him to feel like a pregnant lady. Anybody who was not pregnant really doesn't know what it means to carry like a huge belly in front of you and having pains in the places you would not even expect that they exist, and having all these weird sensations throughout it. So there are some ways, of course, to help to facilitate the process. And the empathy is about getting to know your users, and basically whatever it takes to understand how your end user, it's not always the client, because sometimes client can order something for his clients, like for his users. So it will be your end user who will be in the focus of your approach, and this end user have some conditions that they function in. And at the moment we have all these VR and AR tools, which are also actually used very often in order to make people more empathetic. There is a study that shows why we don't care so much about climate change. Do you know what is the reason why we actually, like, we know about that, we know, like, intellectually, we know that something is going on, why we actually do not really care?
It's not touching us.
It is not touching us, we are not feeling it, yeah? It's not touching us, which is not true, actually, but yes, yeah? There are two main reasons. First, what we hear in the media is always happening far away. Like, what we have always thought, okay, it's not here in Europe, it will not really touch us, it's somewhere not that close. And the proximity is something that makes it, of course, more thinking of empathic. Yes. Something that makes people more sort of rely to people who suffer from climate change. So, like last year, I think there was this huge flood in Germany that was, I don't know, maybe 500 or 600 kilometers happening from Wrocław, and there are some huge droughts happening also in our country. And people who I talk to, they say, okay, I have never experienced anything like that. And I say, like, yes, because it's a sign that it is all changing, and it's not only changing somewhere else, it will change us. So first it's the proximity. And the second reason, we don't believe it will influence us. It will be maybe second generation from now, so maybe our grandchildren, and honestly, not many people, maybe about our children, we think, okay, will they manage? But we think, okay, this should be fine, like every generation has its own challenges. So the proximity and the future generation. So empathy is something that, using all the ways you can, interviewing people, getting to know person who have suffered from that, using all these technological devices, or simple ones like that, anything that will help you or help your students also to empathize with the case you are making, it's very important. And this is why it's so important actually to use that also in business. Okay. Yeah. What is it? What do you think? Sorry? Yeah, exactly. Very well. Yes, city. It's a very, very famous case of an engineer called Douglas Engelbart from General Electric, and he has developed a very sophisticated city device. Extremely, it was a breakthrough. It used to be much more efficient in terms of like the efficiency of the exam. Very well done and very well product. And then he went to the hospital because he wanted to have a look on how it works. And he was walking through the corridor and he saw children that were about to have this checkup, and they were just crying. They were cuddling to their mothers or fathers. They were very scared. And it turned out that the scan, even though it was perfect, it was just terrifying for the children. And basically the hospital had to either cancel the reservations because the children would not lie still, because that's the main way to do it. You just need to lie still. So They would not lie still, and if they were, they would have to put tranquilizers into the kids so that they actually could perform the exam. So he was devastated. He said, okay, this is like completely wrong. I really didn't want it to happen, and what could be done about that? So how can I make this, probably he was thinking, how can I make more room there? How can I make it, I don't know, more quiet? And then he found out about this design thinking process, and he went through the whole, he went to the workshop. Actually, that was the case. He went to the workshop. He started spending times in the corridors and observing the end users of the CT scans. And the very critical thing, core thing he has noticed is that children play whenever they want. And all the time, they want to play. They want to have fun. They want to do something. They cannot just, say, sit still and, I don't know, read, except for a few of them, not my daughter, unfortunately. But really, they want to play. So then during the workshops and then in his work, he developed an idea of how to change the CT scan, CT equipment. But it was not only that. So it was not only that they have sort of made a nice design and made it look like a pirate ship. They design an experience for the kids. So it starts when the children are invited to the scan. They receive invitation for a visit to a pirate ship. The invitation is made in a certain way, so the fun starts from the very beginning. Then they are taken into the tour through the pirate ship, and they are asked to lie still because the pirate could see them. So it's all part of the experience and part of the play and part of the fun to actually use the scan. And it ends up with some certificates, and basically what they have noted is that children were asking parents, okay, so when can I have this pirate ship visit again? So quite the opposite. And these are the results of this very simple redefinition of the problem. So the exam efficiency from 10% raised up to 90%. So they didn't have to cancel, children lie still, they didn't have to repeat it, 90% from 10, and the other way around, children stopped needed to take tranquilizers, so they didn't have to call for anesthetics, they didn't have to just numb them. They would just have fun, and they would still lie still because the pirate might have seen them. So this is why it is so important to look at, yep?
For this pirate ship, they also impose extra charges, right?
Extra
charges.
Yeah, exactly. Extra charges. Yeah, exactly. That could be another case. But actually, the hospital there were millions of savings throughout the phase. And what is important? So if he did not attend this design thinking workshops, he would definitely think of how he could use and solve the problem of children not being able to lie still and the rate of efficiency being at so low level. So he would think of how to make it more resistant to move and how to shorten the time of checkup, how to make the machine more quiet. That would be probably the question he would need, because that would be his perspective, not the children's perspective. And instead of that, this is how he framed the challenge he had. Because of the observation he made during the empathy phase, the children are playing all the time. So if I help them to have a super great adventure on that, it would probably be the solution to our problem. So there are many cases, and I will be happy to, I have one more, but maybe if we have time, I will present it later on. And I will be happy to, of course, provide you with some information and links on the cases if you want to read about them. Okay, so now we will go in slightly more details and sort of from the tools perspective throughout the 5 phases, and then we will discuss about the challenge for today. So it's 9:44. I would need 10, probably up to 15 minutes more. Will you be okay until the break, coffee break? Good. Okay. So as I mentioned before, the process we are going to use will be divided into 5 stages, and we will do some iterations. And of course, it will be a simplified version because we are doing a sprint, so a very quick version of the whole experience. And what is important, we will be in the empathy phase. You will have, each group will have a person that have been prepared, profile of your end user that have been prepared based on interviews with many people, and then you will be thinking about your case throughout the whole process. So you will step into the shoes of Martyna, Ela, Jan, and Piotr, Polish names, but yes, these were real people that we have interviewed, so we decided just to keep the names. You will try to understand the word of the person you will be working, and of course discover the needs and the problems. So there, the main thing, and this is something we need to remember, and we need to just keep up with this principle. We don't judge the person. There will be clients or end users you will not relate to personally. They will have different beliefs than you. They will have different approach to life. They will do things you will not like. Your task is always to try to get to know the person, to see the world from their perspective, not to judge. So we try not to judge. We try to understand what the person thinks, how they feel, what they say, what is important for them. This is the way you do it. And you will have 2 tools that will help you to do that. So first of all, you will have a kind of personas card, and either you will just look and note down or think about, because it's not that you have to just note down everything, but you will look at the profile of the person, and you will check what is the lifestyle of the person, what is her character. Of course, if you can see that from the interview, what is the life motto, what is the personality, what are the motivation of the person you will be working with, what are their goals. So this is something you will be trying to find out from the interview that for this sprint has been prepared for you. And if you will run it by yourself with your students, with your colleagues from work, you will prepare this profile by yourself. And then you will use also something called empathy mat. It's also slightly sort of simplified for you, so the empathy mat is already done, and you will think about this person in that way, and you will come up with a mood board. So at the very end, each group will prepare a mood board, a kind of poster of a person using the flip charts you have, so that you could present your persons to the other groups, and we all know who are you designing for. Is that clear? Good. Yep. Okay, so the second stage will start after 45 minutes of the empathy phase, and in this phase you will try to be analytical. You will try to draw conclusions from the interview. In the first phase, you just get to know the person. In the second phase, you try to define what is the problem. Of course, the problem will be defined based on the challenge you will be given, but this is something that is important, that you don't think about the solution. You need about the need of the person, and then you will try to think and formulate the challenge for you. So the challenge will be formulated in a special way. So each group will just write down the sentence, how would we help, motivate, inspire Jan, Piotr, Ela, and Martina to, and then solve the problem. So this is how you will do it. And we will, of course, help you throughout the process. What is important, how could we design documentation workflows to generate less unnecessary work for the project management? This is the way you do it. The important thing is not to make it too general, because then you will not be able to design a proper solution. So it needs to be quite specific, but it also needs to be, it cannot be also too narrow, because then it will limit your way to generate ideas. So this is how we will do that. How could we help Jan in what they need to make them feel like, and this is very important stuff, we will try to kind of use a metaphor, because the metaphor will help you also in the later phases of the process. We will try to help Jan to make them feel like when he was young and he was spending his summers with his grandmother. So something that you can relate it, something that gives some emotions to it, something that is about feelings, because that's something that also helps for the inspiration. You will be using the mainly facilitated discussion and co-creation, and this is very important, because in this phase you always, here you are from different teams. We will try to split the Wrocław group because it's a large one, so you will not be working with one another. But what is important, co-creation means that it's important to really listen to what the other people from different places, from different universities with different backgrounds have to say, and then you co-create the challenge. And you go to the ideation phase, and ideation phase is about generating ideas to solve the problem that we have designed in the phase of definition of the problem. So we will use mainly brainstorming in two ways. First, we will use the individual one, and then we will use team brainstorming. And the group that will generate the biggest amount of ideas will be rewarded with a special treat. So it will be worth to really make some effort here. So first we generate the ideas, and there are no bad ideas. And this is something I have, I have also mentioned. We're trying to think personas. We're trying to think how different people from different backgrounds would do that. We are building ideas on another. We are having this yes and attitude and yes but attitude, because this is something that will also help you to reframe the idea. And we need to remember that we try not to be too general, because it will be then difficult to prototype. So we will brainstorm into sessions, and then we will choose, you will choose in the group the best idea that suits you, that will be then developed during the prototyping phase. There are some rules to brainstorming, and I would like just you to remember that we don't judge, that everybody has the right to develop ideas, and the more we have and the more different we have, it's much better. And then in the very democratic way, we could use this way, we could use dots that we would have. We will choose the best idea that will be then further developed during the process. So this basically is in an investment method. Every member has an amount of money, and you can invest in 3 ideas, and then you see which project gather the biggest amount of money. Very simple. You can give each of the members of the team 3 points, and then you would just spread it on the flip chart, whatever works. Basically, you need to select one idea, because then we will go to the prototype phase. And in the prototype, of course, the aim of the prototype is to find answers to these questions. Is the solution needed by the client? How should it work? And this is something that you have to consider. How should it work? And does it make sense to develop it further? So what we do, we use the, you can stand up just if you can, because I think it will be good. If you could have a look at the tools we have here, and you have some more in the boxes. So anything that you want, you can either draw a picture, you can make a 3D scene, you can play an advertisement, you can make a phone call, you can do whatever you want. Your aim is to present your prototype, the solution of, to the clients, to the user's needs, and you have to just present the most important features so that people can give you feedback, tell what works, tell what doesn't work, what they like, what they would think needs to be improved, and we will go in the second round. Okay? There are different types of course, of prototypes, of MVPs, and as you probably know, the MVPs, this is the way things are done now. So basically, coming back even to our case study, before this kind of, we have agile now, we have fast, rapid prototyping, all these methods that help you to run things quickly, develop a kind of beta stage, test it with your clients, go back and use the feedback you are getting to improve the process. So this is how things are done while you are programming, while you are developing new solutions, while you are building a new car. It's now BMW makes this kind of social labs when people actually can enter and they can play with parts of the car, with the design, and actually this is the way they develop and come up with the new ideas. Not in the lab only. In the lab, labs are fine, honestly. It's not, but also going out to your clients, going out to the people, observing, and doing something quickly and cheap, getting feedback and improving. This is a way to save money. This is a way to save time and to make, of course, the solution that is more suitable for your clients. So different ways of doing prototypes. And then the prototyping phase is strictly connected with the testing phase. And what is important in the testing phase, each group will present their prototype, and of course they will just focus on the main features, on how it works and how it, of course, addresses the challenge that our person, our client, our end user has. We listen, we ask and we improve. We don't defend, we don't fight for our prototype. The feedback is good for us, it's not bad. And the last thing I want to say, when we give feedback, we say, I like, or I've noticed, da 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 da, and I suggest you amend that. You don't say, I like you, but your shoes are not nice. This but basically kills everything that was said before. And this is something I try to kind of incorporate in my normal language and the way I communicate, but is a word that really kills things. So we try to say, I liked that, and I would like you to think about something.
You can use I like it, and your shoes sucks.
Yep, and your shoes sucks, and you should do something about it. It sounds better than bad. Yeah, softer. Okay, so this is the challenge for today. So imagine that there is an active mining company in the town and municipality X that is located somewhere. And of course, this mining company strongly affects the life and the conditions of living in this place. And many people work in the mining company, of course. This is the way it is. There is a large tailing pond as a result of the production and extraction and processing of the ore. So it is something that people need also to live with. And of course, the residents remember an old disaster, is a story that has been also repeated, that once in a history, not that far away, there was a catastrophe, and unfortunately a few people, 17, Magda, I think, in Ivine were killed actually because the dump was not protected the way it should be. Now everything is fine, it's being monitored, they are informed about the situation, but this is the conditions that they have to face. Mining damage is also evident, but they also see that the mining company is working very closely with the municipality. They try to be in constant communication with the authorities, with the citizens. Many people work there, as I said, so they try to also make up for the damage they make. And the mayor of the city, X, has some budget this year for an investment that would improve the quality of life of the citizens of the city. And the condition is that this solution that he will be developing must be nature-based. And what is important, this is the one-time budget, so he will not have this budget next year. So the solution must be safe, sustainable. So he has to think, okay, next year if I don't have this money, how it will be supported, how it will sustain itself. And in addition, the mining company promised that they will add 50% to the budget if this solution that will help to improve the quality of life of the citizens has an educational component. An educational component that is related to recycling, climate change, environment. Yeah, and of course the president has this money and might have this extra money, but he completely doesn't know what sort of project he should run, what would the residents like, and how actually to start the whole process of researching and investigating and trying to find out what he should do. So today you are the consultants that have been hired by our mayor, and your job is to find out, first of all, what people need, how they feel, what are the needs, what are the problems, and what kind of solution, nature-based, is needed in the town. And you will, of course, remember about this criteria that we have, so it needs to improve the life of the citizens. It needs to be based on nature, and it needs to be financially self-sustaining. And if we have this educational component, then we will get 50% of additional budget. Okay, is that clear for you? So with this challenge, you will be going through all the phases. Of course, we will facilitate and help you, and you will come up with the solution that then will be hopefully selected by the mayor and implemented in the city X. Okay, coffee break. Thank you very much.